Let's go. Let's go, fam. Let's go. It's Mello back with another video. And today we are talking about getting your drums hitting as hard as they can. As hard as they can. And that is accomplished through clipping. Clipping is when a sound goes over 0 dB, the distortion that you get from that when it does that. Clipping is kind of bad when it comes to the overall mix. But for certain sounds within the mix, especially kicks and snares, a lot of people, a lot of your favorite producers clip. It just makes everything hit a lot harder. If you want your kicks to just punch through the mix, just through the speakers, this is it, bro. We're gonna talk about types of clipping, and it's really only two types. The first type of clipping, soft clipping, which soft clipping is when it tries to go over the threshold. When whatever sound you're pushing tries to go over that 0 dB threshold, it rounds the edges of the waveform off where it tries to go over. That has kind of a warmer feel. Then you have hard clipping. Hard clipping is basically that same thing. Instead of the waveform being rounded off when it tries to go over that 0 decibels, it actually hard cuts it and squares it off. It gives it a hard edge. That affects the treble a lot. It creates a really distorted sound. With that being said, let's get into some demonstrations and all of that stuff.
Disclaimer: the volume in the audio recorded from the video has been reduced, and a limiter was used on the audio of this video, so you don't have to worry about your speakers getting blown. The decibels the sound hits on the screen is not the decibels the audio volume in the actual video is hitting. I still wouldn't recommend watching this video with headphones on, even though I made it with headphones on. Also, put a like on the video and subscribe.
I have a sample from my new sample pack to give. Go get that, it's free. Let's play the beat. Now, as far as the velocity on the kicks in the beat, they're all at a regular volume. Let's see where it's peaking at on the mixer right now. So right now the kick is peaking at -3 decibels. So what we're gonna do first, we're gonna go over all of the methods I know as far as clipping. So we're gonna start with the clipping knob. Open a sampler on the kick, go to the pre-computed effects tab, click that little switch right there. I showed you this in the 808 video. You'll see the clipping knob. What you want to do is take that, press the clip button, and when you control the boost, that's going to control how much clipping is going to happen. Now you see what happens when we go over here. It's hard clipping basically. It's not a soft clipper, it hard clips. So that's pretty outrageous. If we take it all the way to the top, let's see how it sounds. Pretty outrageous. Let's take it down a lot of notches. Let's go back to it. Definitely hits harder than it did, and if you notice earlier, it's still hitting at 3 decibels. So with that, you can control the clipping as far as a hard clipping on the kick or the snare, whatever you choose, and it's going to stay at the same volume it's already at. So the next thing we're going to talk about is hiking the velocity. Now this is the most common way people clip in their beats. I'm going to show you multiple ways to hike the velocity. When you hike the velocity on the actual sound, not through the mixer, but just on the actual sound, it's going to hit the mixer over 0 decibels. That's going to result in that distortion that you get from clipping, and it's going to hard clip. That's the type of clipping you get when you do that. So let's go over a few ways to do that. So the first and the most common way is by going to the piano roll, hiking all the notes up. Let's listen to that right now. Boom, so you have that. That's one way to go about it. Another way is to open up a parametric EQ and just push this up right here. Now we're crazy off the meter right now, but you hear how hard it's hitting. So we'll mute that. We'll take the velocity back down. So now we got it back to 3 decibels, but another way to hike the velocity, you can go to the kick, go to the miscellaneous functions tab, and you can raise the volume here. So let's listen to that. Extreme crunch. You really don't want to go that hard. With clipping, what you want to do is subtlety. You don't want it to go too crazy. So again, that's peaking at +3. Those are the ways to hike the velocity to get it to hit harder. I'm going to show you what I do with my mixes right now. We have the 808 on one channel and we have the kick on one channel. Hold Control and Shift on the mixer while the kick is selected, and then select the 808 so you have them both selected. I like where the levels are hitting at on both of the sounds right now. I'm going to drag them both down whenever I go to mix. Let's mute everything else. And then I can mix around that. I can base my whole mix around what I just did right there, and everything's in perfect proportion for me, and you still get some of that distortion and things of that nature. So that's what it is. So now I've reset everything, and for the rest of the tutorial, what we're gonna do, we're gonna have the velocity hiked up on the kick, which again hits at +3. The next method we're gonna go over is one I used to use a lot, which is basically using the limiter. So with the limiter, you already have, you know, your velocity hiked up. You can even have it hiked up through the parametric EQ. Hitting all crazy, but in some cases you want to put a limiter on it just for the mix and things like that. So I'm going to load up a Fruity limiter. We're going to turn it on. And all you do is turn all the envelope knobs down. And you do this when you already have the velocity hiked wherever you wanted it at, and just put it over that. So let's listen to it now. So it still hits really hard, and it's hitting at 0 dB. So that limits it as far as whatever you're doing with the velocity. But the reason I don't do it anymore is because with the other method, as far as the velocity, it keeps the pureness of the low end. This takes away some of the low end because it's really highlighting and bringing out the distortion, which is in the high end more. But either way, it's still going to make it hit hard. One thing you can do is either pump more velocity into it through the other ways that I mentioned earlier, or you can play with the gain. So you can either add it or take it away to get the knot right to where you want it. So again, that results in hard clipping, but that's using the limiter. All right, so now we're going to talk about one of the most used things when it comes to clipping, which is the Fruity Soft Clipper. It's an extension of the Fruity limiter. You can look that up in the help file. It is what it is, but it has a pre-computed effect that does it a certain way. This knob basically controls the compression. It doesn't go too crazy with the compression, but if the kick is tailing with the slant, it may bring the back end of the kick up a little more. Same with the snare. As far as the post knob, that basically controls where the output level is going to land on the mixer. Remember, it's clipping at +3. We're going to turn this on now. You see it instantly brought it down to 0 decibels, but let's play with it. So that's the soft clipper. Pretty much one of the best on the market right now is the T-Rack soft clipper. I think it's $50, but what you need to do is sign up for IK Media's mailing list, because if you go and look up tutorials on the T-Rack's classic clipper or the soft clipper, whatever they call it, it was being given out for free at certain points. So I would say keep an eye out for that. But even if you do have the $50 to pay, it's definitely worth it. So let's go over some of the functionality right quick. This right here controls the gain. It controls how loud it gets. And this knob right here controls the threshold or the output. If you set it at 0 decibels, the signal is not going to go over 0 decibels. But when you push the gain, it's going to get louder and louder. This is probably one of the loudest, you know, clippers or compressors, whatever you want to call it, that I've seen. But the great part about it, the great thing about it, this knob right here, it controls the type of clipping you get. That's the unique thing about it. So if you tilt it all the way to the left, you get soft clipping. If you tilt it all the way to the right, you get hard clipping. So we're gonna play with it just to show you the hard clipping and soft clipping and how loud this thing can actually go. That's the soft clipping. That's the hard clipping, hits a lot harder. Now, even if you do want this to go over a little bit to get an extra bit of clip on it, you can push the output knob. So that's what it is. That's the T-Rack soft clipper. Those are all the ways that I know to clip. And just a quick nugget, I used to look at Boy Wonder's kit when he first dropped the kits, his first original kits, and I was like, how is he getting the drums to hit this hard? And this is pre-YouTube era and everything. I was trying to do distortion and all other types of stuff to it, you know, and combine kicks and stuff like that, really trying to get the same sound he does. But it hit a certain point where I found out about clipping and learned a lot more about it. And that, as far as your kick specifically, is how you make your kicks hit a lot harder. But very quickly, just to demonstrate, you can do the same thing with your snares, just to combine some of the stuff that we've learned. I'm gonna go to the snare pattern. We're gonna hike up the velocity. We're gonna throw a T-Rack soft clipper on it. Hitting stupid hard is 0 decibels. So that's clipping. And again, that is the best way to make your drums hit harder. All right, so I hope that helped you. I hope you got a lot of good game from that, and I hope that it impacts your beats in a way that is violent, punches through the mix. It just punches, the drums just punch. I mentioned earlier, that the sample is from the GIF. I just dropped that. It's a free sample pack. Go and get that. And on top of that, I have a beginner MIDI kit for trap drum patterns. You asked for it, maybe not you, but you asked for it. So check those out. Also, I got a drum kit dropping soon, so be on the lookout for that. The drums were definitely from the kit, and the kit is called Combustion. So just be ready for it. Outside of that, let me know what you want to see. Give me some feedback. Let me know what it is. I will catch you another day, another way, somehow, someday, my man. All that good stuff, man. I'm out.